Hi, and welcome to another Road to Vostok Feature Highlight, where we are going to take a look at some of the early access features worth mentioning about. In this video, I'm going to talk about day and night cycles, dynamic weather, dynamic seasons, so the keyword here is pretty much the dynamic stuff. Currently, I'm in the demo branch, and I will explain a few things how the lighting was implemented here. Basically, all the lighting states were controlled by these toggles, meaning there was instant transition from day to dawn, day to dusk, and so on, and same applied also for the weather states. For example, if I wanted overcast, dark weather, that's an instant transition, no blending or any dynamic stuff between. Initially, I thought that I should probably use the same method for the early access, but have some kind of running game time behind the scenes, and if that time goes beyond some threshold, it would change that toggle behind the scenes, in other words behind some loading screens when you go from map to another and so on. But instead I decided to ditch that approach completely and went with fully dynamic approach, meaning actual day and night cycles where you can see the blending, you can see the weather changing, and you can see the sun movement, moon movement on the sky, and so on. So let's go back to the commercial branch and I will showcase how this system was implemented there. Okay, welcome to the commercial branch and this template map where I test and benchmark all the upcoming early access features like this day and night cycle and dynamic stuff. I removed all the nature assets from this map so we can clearly see the skybox and all the lighting changes. In here we have this world component that I made, which has this time of day section. This is basically the key, everything lighting related and how the simulation is being worked behind the scenes. Previously, like I showed in the demo, there was these instant toggles which controls the lighting. Now it's completely value based. So when I manipulate this slider, we can see the skybox changing, we can see the sun moving. For example, here's the sunset. Here's the sunrise. If I push it over the sunset values, we can see the night and moon moving in the sky. And when I press simulate, you can see the time starts running automatically. I can control the speed. For example, now it's 10 times the speed, and we can see the sun, sky, and all the elements moving automatically. Let's maybe see the sunrise once again. Maybe do 20 times the speed. 100 times the speed. And let's stop the simulation and reset the time. So that's basically how things work behind the scenes and what's the core component related to these upcoming features that I'm going to show. Okay, I spawned into nature assets so we can start taking a look at some of the details, but first a few things about the performance. When I initially decided to go with this fully dynamic approach, I wanted to make sure that this approach is at least as performant as the static one, and I'm happy to mention that it is. It's actually even slightly more performant because there's less sky textures to sample. I don't have to use reflection probes because everything is dynamic, and I even managed to fit in dynamic reflections. Here's for example the water shader, reflections off, reflections on. Let's maybe go over here, reflections off, reflections on, and those are still within the rendering budget. This template map is for example half a kilometer wide, and all the nature detail is preserved from end to end, so as much grass from each part of the map, not just in the center, and it's running with my mid-level hardware around 200 FPS with all the dynamic stuff. For example, let's put the simulation on, all the dynamic reflections from end to end around 200 FPS. So I'm quite happy how this turned out performance and rendering wise, and into early access there should not be any performance issues whatsoever. Then we have transitioned to first person view and we could start by creating a test weapon over here so we can see how the new lighting changes apply or affect the FPS controller. I have these kind of like developer tools here so I can fly wherever I want. So let's maybe start seeing how the lighting changes actually look like in the game view. First, I'm going to start with dawn. So this is basically, maybe fly over here, how the dawn will look like in game. Here's the day. Here's the dusk. And I will now turn on the simulation. So this is now running real time. You can actually see the sun shafts moving, and we should see slowly the skybox getting darker and environment getting darker in general. This will take some time with the actual in-game values, so maybe we speed up the process a little. Now it's night. You can see the stars reflecting from the water. We should see a moon somewhere. Maybe we fly over here. There's our moon. Now the simulation is running real time. You can actually see the moon moving over the trees there. I will speed up the simulation now 10 times. The moon goes over the horizon. We should see the dawn over there. Let's maybe fly over here. And that's visually how the game looks with the dynamic stuff from the first person view. Then before I talk about the weather stuff and season stuff, I want to mention a few drawbacks of this dynamic system. Currently, when it's day and there's kind of like good angles from the sun to the surfaces, it looks okay because there's a lot of contrast, meaning shadows and light, but since this dynamic stuff can produce angles that don't have a lot of contrast, there will be times of day when the environment will look kind of flat, like in this kind of like dawn period, because the sun is blocked by the trees, so it looks a bit flat. It's realistic, but in game when I don't, for example, have any fancy global illumination systems, there will be times when the lighting is a bit flat. So there's always drawbacks. I will maybe put some flat dusk lighting. I don't know if you consider this a drawback or not, but just wanted to mention that this dynamic system will produce lighting scenarios that have kind of flat lighting. I could maybe do one more experiment by flying edge of the map. I will drop down now and I will put the simulation on at 10 times the speed, and I will walk down this hill so you can see maybe all the different lighting scenarios at once. Let's maybe start from the dawn, simulations on, and I will start walking. So those were the drawbacks that I wanted to mention. Okay, then it's time for the weather stuff. Like mentioned in the demo, the weather was also instant controlled by toggles, so no transitions, but with this new system the weathers also can blend in dynamically. I will transition the weathers with quite high speed, so in game those will be transitioned more slowly, but hopefully this will demonstrate the point. Currently there's so-called neutral weather states, so there's quite clear skies not fog, not overcast, and none of the weather particles like snow or rain or anything like that. The first effect that we have is so-called overcast. I will now turn on the debug tools and press the overcast. The main thing that is happening is that the sky will transition from quite neutral to overcast. All the sun and moon will disappear, and visually the game will get more dark, kind of like overcasty. Then one thing that fits quite well with the overcast is wind effects. So the wind, I redid the entire wind shaders. The grass will now move more realistically, the trees will move more realistically, and wind off, wind on, overcast off, overcast on. Then we can blend in some fog environments. This might be a bit overkill at the current values, but I will try to find some quite pleasing values for this fog. Then we can put in some other effects. I'm pretty sure the YouTube compression will ruin this, but for example, I will reduce the fog, I will introduce rain, I will turn off the rain, put in the thunder, I'm currently editing this in a way that I don't hear the actual game sounds, but hopefully you will hear some thunder hum and strikes in the game. Then let's turn off the thunder, turn off the wind and overcast. Let's maybe fly over here. And let's try some different lighting conditions. For example, let's put in the dawn, dawn overcast, dawn overcast with wind, dawn overcast with fog. Let's maybe do some walking here. Let's switch to dusk. Sorry, that was night. Then fog off, wind off, overcast off. And we are now once again in the neutral state. So that's basically how the weather will blend in. In this example, the speed was way too fast, but in the game it will blend quite nicely. Okay, then last we have the seasonal stuff. Originally, like with the other elements, I decided that I should probably take the static route, so I had this plan that I will have a separate winter mode in the main menu, but since the keyword here is dynamic, I decided that let's go with dynamic approach instead. Now it's summer, like you can see. I press the debug tools on, and I can transition to summer, to wind, like this. The weather effects will also work completely with the winter. For example, let's put it overcast. Let's bring some wind. Let's put some fog. And let's bring in the snow. Let's maybe change the time of day to dawn. Now we have this quite exotic look. Then let's maybe transition to dusk. Reduce the fog. I also forgot to mention that these weather particle effects, for example the snow, is linked with the other weather states. For example, if I reduce the wind, you can see the snow now falls more calmly. If I put on the wind, it's more rapid, and same applies for the rain and so on. Let's once again change to day, maybe some fog. And that's how the winter will blend in with the environment. One nice thing, or at least thing to mention, is that these weather states now will also kind of like affect the nighttime visibility. For example, in the wintertime, when the ground is white, I will reduce these effects and I will put in the night. You can actually see the moonlight being reflected kind of like on the terrain surface more compared to the summertime when the ground is dark and greenish and so on. So that's how the dynamic season stuff will work now with this new system. Final weather effect that I forgot to mention is this northern lights that I redid or overhauled the entire shader related to that. It will look like this now. It will actually reflect the environment with some green colors. It's now much more performant and also realistic. It will reflect on the water. And maybe we end this feature highlight over here. Thank you for watching this new video about the early access feature related to dynamic game time, day and night cycle, and these weather effects and how to blend them with the environments. There's a bunch of new videos coming quite soon. I have, for example, the grenades, I have the lasers, and all the new magazine stuff and other cool things that are already being implemented to the commercial branch. So let's see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.